Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mikkel St. Germain. I am the Director of Parent and Family Engagement, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our first webinar in the winter webinar series for parents and families. This one is a roadmap for exploring career opportunities. And we are joining you from a very cold Brown University campus in Providence, Rhode Island, but I hope you're enjoying a nice winter break wherever you are. Before I introduce our speaker today, I want to give you a few bits of information to help our hour together go a little more smoothly and be enjoyable for you as much as possible. First off, I want to let you know that we do have closed captions today, and that's accessed by the CC button on your screen. And all these webinars that we're presenting will be recorded and will be posted at a later time on the Parent and Family website. So I'll chat out that link while we have our webinar, so you have that as a reference. We also have received a number of excellent questions in advance. We had about 560 people register for this webinar, and so we have a lot to get to. But if you do want to still submit a question for today, you're free to do so using the Q&A tool. And then finally, I want to encourage everyone to join us for our other winter webinars this week. Tomorrow, we will be talking about creating and finding a community at Brown, and that's with folks from the Division of Campus Life. And then on Thursday, we will have a webinar devoted to living at Brown with our colleagues from Residential Life. And then finally, on Friday, we've got a webinar that is focused on students who are expected to graduate this year. However, everyone is welcome to attend, and that is Understanding Commencement. All these sessions take place at noon Eastern time, and however, they are all going to be recorded and posted on that website. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker. It is my pleasure to introduce Matthew Donato, the Director of Career Lab, and he's going to go over an overview of the Career Lab and its services, and then we'll get into some questions. Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Mikkel, and thanks everybody for being here today. Really excited that so many people are interested in this topic of career exploration and how your students can take advantage of our resources and the support that we offer to help students find opportunities, whether those be internship opportunities, whether those be full-time job opportunities, interest in going to graduate school, alumni networking connections. We have a lot of resources in our office, and I'll be able to talk about many of those resources today. But I want to just briefly, before I get into answering some of the great questions that many of you submitted ahead of time, I want to talk a bit about what I would call a shorthand for how students can approach the career exploration process. And this shorthand was developed as part of a course that we experimented with over the last two semesters. So during the spring 2021 semester and the fall 2021 semester, we decided to try teaching a career course as part of the curriculum at Brown. It was a half-credit course. It was only open to sophomores, and the title of the course was Exploring Career Options. And our goal was to give students who took the course a really in-depth perspective on what the career exploration process would look like. And it was particularly geared to students who might not have an idea what they wanted to do when they graduated or what they even wanted to pursue in terms of internships or other activities during their undergraduate years. And the shorthand that we developed for this course to sort of outline the student's experience was that they should know themselves, they should talk to people, and they should do things. And I actually think that's a really great unofficial motto for the Career Lab. If you're coming into the Career Lab as a student, we want you to know yourself, we want you to talk to people, and we want you to do things. What does that mean? Know yourself means we really want students to have a great understanding of their skills, their interests, their values, their identity, their needs at any given point in time. And those things will change during their 4 years at Brown and beyond their time at Brown. But it's really important for students to take on the activity of self-assessment. And that's something that we focused a lot with students in the course on is self-assessment. We used some self-assessment tools like the Clifton Strengths Assessment. We have our own internally developed self-assessment tool at Career Lab that we use to help students identify skills, values, interests. And that's really important because as students are trying to to navigate through the thousands and thousands of career possibilities that are out there for them, it's really important to overlay who they are onto the world of possibilities. And we help students do that every day in Career Lab through our career counseling activities, through our peer career advising activities, and just through helping students through the process of applying, searching, and ultimately securing things like internships and full-time jobs. And that self-assessment can't be, there's really no shortcuts to it. We really want students to spend a lot of time on that. Can you hear me right now? I'm not sure if my volume cut out. Okay, great. So self-assessment is really important. Then once you know yourself, it's really important to be able to tell your story. And that's where talk to people comes in. We want students to be able to talk to people about who they are, what they're interested in, why they're interested in it, and what they want to try exploring. And that's true for interviews, for talking with employers, for talking with alumni connections, people who they're networking with, to find out information about different career paths. Talking to people is probably the most critical activity that students can learn during their time at Brown. And we provide lots of opportunities for students to connect with alumni, with parents, with employers, with lots of people who can lead them to opportunities and can help them think through what their career options are. And then we certainly want students to be able to do things. We want students to have internship and research opportunities and fellowship opportunities and campus employment opportunities. And it's important for students over their 4 years to try things out, to try to model or test out different career paths for themselves, decide what they like, what they don't like about certain types of opportunities, and to take some risks along the way. I think that's a really important part of student learning and student growth while they're at Brown. And so knowing yourself, talking to people, doing things is I think a good way to frame the career exploration process for many of our students. And I can talk as we get into our conversation and answering some of the questions that you provided about how the knowing yourself, talking to people, doing things can manifest itself through a lot of our programs and the resources that we offer. So I think what we're going to do now is Mikkel had done a great job of summarizing many of the questions. Some of the questions that you all posted were very similar to each other, or there were some similarities and common themes. So I think we tried to amalgamate some of those questions into a general list, but we'll also be monitoring the Q&A for questions that you might have as I'm talking, or questions that you didn't get to share ahead of time that you'd like to ask. So we'll keep monitoring that Q&A as we go along, and hopefully be able to answer some of your live questions as well. So Mikkel, I guess I'll turn it over to you to start grilling me with some of the questions that people submitted.
Sure. So one of the most frequent questions that we got was about summer internships. And I think because, we're about to start the spring semester, this is typically the time, I think, when students start to think about that. Can you talk a little bit about the timing and, should they be thinking about that right now, or, what's the best approach to finding a summer internship? And then the specific segue to that is also about first-year students. I think we have a number of parents and family members of newly admitted students who are thinking about the first-year experience. What is your recommendation for first-year students? Is that something that's important for them?
Yeah, let me start with the second question first, and then I'll move on to the first question. In terms of internships for first-year students, that's definitely something that we support and we help advise students around. But I do also want to stress that not having an internship during a student's first year is okay. Many students don't get internships after their first year. And to some extent, first-year students are at a bit of a competitive disadvantage compared to upperclassmen, sophomores, juniors, and beyond for internships, because some employers don't recruit freshmen for summer internships. And it's certainly not a blanket case that employers don't recruit first-year students. But for many first-year students, just the whole process of adjusting to college, adjusting to life at Brown, adjusting to the rigor of the curriculum, living away from home potentially for the first time ever, it can be really stressful. And sometimes students just need to go home for the summer. And that's okay. It's okay not to have an internship after your first year. There are certainly lots of activities that you can do outside of an internship that can be really productive. And we talk with students about that, about developing your networking skills, about potentially doing some job shadowing. So not an internship, but maybe going with an alum or with someone that you know to their place of work for a couple of days to see what it's really like in that work environment or in that industry on the ground. Um, or it may just be going back to do a summer job that your student has done in the past. We'd have lots of students that have worked at summer camps or have done tutoring or who have worked in their local community. And going back to do those jobs is okay. That's a skill building activity as well. And so I usually, in our office, we usually like to take some of the pressure off of first year students. It's not essential to have an internship, but for students, first year students that want internships, we certainly can advise around that, support that, and help students find internships. Oftentimes research with faculty at Brown or at other institutions is a really valuable summer activity for students to undertake. So those opportunities are there, but we don't put a lot of pressure on first year students to have a formal internship during their first year summer. I do think sophomore summer is a really great summer to try and experiment and do something in some ways completely off the wall. It doesn't have to be an internship that's completely aligned with what you want to do when you graduate. I think there's a lot of opportunities sophomore year summer to explore just areas of interest, areas where you might want to build specific skill sets or just try something out. And then often junior year summer might be an internship that's a little bit more connected to the thing you want to do when you graduate. So I think there's really no one set path for every student, but this is the time of year when many students are starting to think about internships. And I think there tends to be a lot of stress on campus about the timing of securing an internship opportunity. For some students, particularly those who are looking at investment banking, management consulting, or even some technology internships, some of that recruiting has already happened. So students on campus who aren't interested in banking, consulting, or technology often see that their friends secured internships in September or October or November. And there can be this sense of stress like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out on something. All of my friends or my two roommates have an internship and I don't have anything yet. I'm falling behind. That couldn't be further from the truth. Really, January and February are probably great times to start the internship search for most students. And sometimes that internship search doesn't start with applying to internships. It might start with a visit to Career Lab to talk with a career counselor or a peer career advisor. Or it might start with a networking strategy to connect with alumni and maybe other Brown community members, parents or faculty, or even other colleagues around campus to learn about what opportunities might be available. Because as we tell students, often 60 to 70% of internship opportunities are never posted anywhere. They're not posted on our internal job posting system, Handshake. They're not posted on our internship site, Brown Connect. They're opportunities that are usually hidden or maybe haven't even been created yet until you as a student go talk to somebody who might be interested in hiring you. So networking tends to be a really important activity in the internship search process for many students. You have to find those hidden internship opportunities. And we do a lot of work to help students ramp up their networking and get that going into January, February, and March. But the busiest time for internships to be posted at Career Lab through our Handshake and our Brown Connect systems is usually February, March, and April. Those are the three busiest months for new internships to get posted. So I want to make sure that people understand if you don't have an internship in January or February or March, it doesn't mean you're not going to have a summer internship if that's your goal. There are definitely going to be opportunities available throughout the spring semester. And I would highly recommend that students who are worried about the search or who just are having trouble getting started, or maybe who have gotten started but are frustrated that they're not seeing results yet in terms of getting interviews or even securing an internship, come meet with us in Career Lab. We have lots of appointments available. Our peer career advisors are really, really good, and many of them have gone through the internship search process themselves. They can help you get on track, your student to get on track with the internship search. So we do a lot this time of year to support students. The one program that I will, or a couple programs that I'll point out are our Sprint internship funding programs. So we do at Brown fund internship and research opportunities for students every summer. We fund students who are interested in doing research with Brown faculty members on campus during the summer. We fund students who find their own internships away from Brown with employers. And we also fund internships that we go out and find for students around particular industry and geographic areas. So for example, we have a media in Los Angeles internship program. We have an entrepreneurship in Berlin internship program and in Sweden. We also have a Brown in Washington internship program around policy and government internships. And we have a Careers in the Common Good internship program in New York, where students can go work for social innovation and community-facing organizations in New York. We also have an iProv internship program for social innovation in Providence. And so these are all opportunities that we go out, we work with employers to create internship opportunities specifically for Brown students, and then we fund those internships from Brown. And the application deadlines for those, we have two application deadlines. Our first deadline is coming up on February 9th, so that's in just about a month. And that's for our signature internship programs, those programs, the media, the Careers in the Common Good, the Brown in Washington program that we create the opportunities for, and our UTRA program, that's undergraduate teaching and research, to do research on campus with faculty. So for students that want to secure those types of opportunities, those types of funded opportunities, or at least apply for funding to get those opportunities, the deadline for that application is February 9th. Then we also have a secondary deadline of March, I believe it's March 14th, for our LINK program. And that's the internships where students go out and find a low paid or unpaid internship opportunity and bring it back to us for consideration to be funded. And in any given year, we typically fund close to 700 opportunities, research and internship opportunities for students. So we have a lot of funding available. We also have a lot of students that apply, so it is competitive. It's not as competitive as getting into Brown, which is good news. So for our UTRA program, we typically fund 50% or more of the students who apply to do research with faculty, but we don't have unlimited funding. So if your student is interested in doing an internship or research on campus with faculty and needs funding for that internship, they can definitely come and see us. We have information on our website. We'll be doing information sessions during the months of January and February about the process. So there's lots of opportunities to plug in and learn about that. But I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that program because that's a really important one for us, and one that I think supports lots of students with paid opportunities over the summer.
Thanks, Matt. I think that will be helpful to a number of our attendees today. On the other end of the spectrum, we got a lot of questions about seniors who are looking at their first job interview or their first job after graduation. What's your timeline or recommendations for seniors to get their resumes together and start applying for jobs during the spring semester?
Yeah, let me answer. There's a couple live questions that I can answer that were follow-ons to my information, I think, about the Sprint program. Sprint opportunities, internship funding, is not just for students who are aided. However, we do give priority to students who are receiving financial aid. So we have a mix usually of students that are aided or unaided who get internship funding through the Sprint program, but we do provide more funding to students who are on aid. So you don't have to be aided, though, to be eligible to apply and receive funding. We also have tiered funding. So for students that have higher financial need, we do provide more. We provide a higher stipend, a higher internship award for the students who have higher financial need. For unaided students, we provide a slightly lower award. And then for the research with faculty, can that be online or hybrid between Providence and the student's home? It really depends on the faculty member. Most research is going to be conducted this summer in person in Providence. And that's the case for our internships as well. We're not We don't have a remote requirement as we did in the previous summer, which is, I think, good news for many students. But if a student needs to be at home and the research is possible to be conducted remotely or in a hybrid fashion, I think that would be up to a discussion between the student and the faculty member conducting that research and hosting the research opportunity. So to your question, Mikkel, about seniors, that's, it's hard to give a blanket answer to that question because the job search is really, really customized for many students. And there's not one timeline for recruiting that fits every student. So as I said, for internships, the similar industries, finance, consulting, technology, students who are going into those industries may already have offers and have accepted offers in the fall for full-time employment when they graduate. That's not uncommon, and that's usually between 25 and 35% of our graduating class every year is going into finance, consulting, technology, and many of those students will have already secured, some of those students will already secure their opportunities even before the spring semester begins. But I would say for the vast majority of seniors, the job search really kicks into high gear in January, February, March, April, May, and even into the summer. I mean, so students may not have secured a position at graduation, but they may be interviewing for jobs still, and they may be, hoping to start a job before the end of the summer or by the beginning of the fall. I think it does, often feel stressful for many students that recruiting timelines don't often match up with graduation. So I was actually speaking with an alum 2 days ago, a class of 2021 graduate who has a great job in New York working for a startup data journalism company. And she reported that when she was looking for jobs in January and February of her graduation year of last year, she got a couple job offers, but they wanted her to start in March or April before she even graduated. So the timing just wasn't working out for her. And she was fortunate that she continued the interview process and got a couple other job offers, and she was able to start almost immediately after she graduated. So I think, for many seniors, the job search is going to be very, very much customized to their interests, the things that they want to do specifically that aren't necessarily on a strict timeline. And we work with seniors on how to negotiate, start dates, how to negotiate salaries, how to negotiate benefits packages and things like that. So if you have a senior who hasn't gotten started on the job search, that's okay. There's still lots of time to find opportunities, to interview, to apply. So don't stress about that. But if you're needing some guidance on how to negotiate a start date with an employer, or if you're trying to navigate some of the intricacies of benefits and salary negotiation, we work with a lot of seniors on that. And so there's really not, I can't give you a really blanket answer for how seniors should approach it. But if you're a senior that's never come into Career Lab or hasn't even started thinking about the career planning process yet, I'd say January is probably a good time to start. I definitely would say come in and see us sooner than later, because chances are you might know what you want to do, and we just can help you get tracked into a process towards a job, or at least an interview process before you graduate.
Thanks, Matt. And you mentioned alumni, so I think this is a good segue to one of the questions that's in the Q&A, as well as some we got in advance. And what kind of connections can students make with the Alumni Network from former Brown alums or Ivy League alums? What are the available resources there?
Yeah, so our biggest resource on the alumni networking side is Brown Connect. So Brown Connect is not only an initiative within Career Lab, it's also a software platform that we run, and it provides access to close to, I think just over now, 60,000 alumni networking connections for students across a wide variety of career paths, industries, geographic locations, and it's available for students to search for alumni and even email alumni directly through the Brown Connect system 24/7. And so we do a lot of training with students on how to use the Brown Connect platform, how to make connections, and how to write effective emails to alumni to hopefully elicit a response. Many of our alumni are very responsive through Brown Connect. That same alum who I mentioned earlier from the class of 21 I was talking to, when she was looking for jobs in data journalism, she found, I think she said 8 alumni that she emailed one day from Brown Connect, and she got 4 or 5 responses within like 48 hours from those 8 alums. So our alums really want to support students. They really want to help students and answer questions and provide guidance and mentorship. We often will, in our office, train students to use Brown Connect alongside of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is also a really great source of information on Brown alumni, and there are some very specific methods of using LinkedIn to find Brown alumni that we train students to take advantage of. And it can be quite powerful for students to find, to use LinkedIn alongside of Brown Connect to actually find really, really strong alumni connections in industries that they might be interested in. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of opportunities for students to kind of self-service use our tools to connect with alumni. We also have lots of events and programs to connect students with alumni. Unfortunately, a lot of that was virtual last year because of COVID. I think some of it will continue to be virtual this summer, although hopefully as COVID maybe gets better as we get into the summer months, we're hoping maybe to be able to do some of our in-person summer networking events again. We used to do events in cities across the country and even some international destinations as well, where we brought students who were back home for the summer or working in a city during the summer together with alumni who live and work in those cities. Cities like San Francisco, Dallas, New York, Chicago. We did one in Hong Kong. We've done them in a variety of places around the world. And so we're hoping to do more of those, but even if we can't do them in person, we'll have lots of virtual activities for students as well. A couple of years ago, we did our Brown Connect Summer Institute, which engaged more than 200 alumni over 6 weeks with a group of close to 1,000 Brown students over the course of that 6 weeks. This past summer, we experimented with a virtual mentoring program, which we're hoping to continue and expand this summer. So it's not just providing students with points of contact for networking, but actually making direct connections with alumni for mentoring activities over the course of 5 weeks during the summer. And we engaged about 50 alumni with just over 100 students last year, and we're hoping to expand that this summer. And then for the future, we're really looking to double down on that mentoring strategy with alumni and build curated alumni mentoring relationships with students over the course of both the summer and the academic year. So there's just lots of opportunities, even during the academic year, for students to connect with alumni on their own, to come to an alumni virtual event for now, and hopefully to be doing some virtual and in-person events with alumni over the summer.
And what's the best way for students to keep aware of the different events that that you're mentioning, and even the ones you're not?
Yeah, so all of our events and programs are listed on the university calendar and in Today at Brown. Today at Brown is a daily email that your student gets every day. They may or may not read it, but we post all of our programs and events in Today at Brown. They're all on our calendar, which is also linked on the front page of the Career Lab website, and it's constantly updated. We also have a calendar in our recruiting system, which is called Handshake. Handshake is the place where employers post jobs with us. Also, it's the place where if you're a student and you want to make an appointment with our office, you can do that through Handshake. You can make an appointment online with one of our career counselors. You can find out information about, you can connect with employers through career fairs through Handshake that we run on an almost monthly basis during the academic year. And so there's just lots of places where our calendar lives and where you can find out about what's happening in our office. On the recruiting side, we also have an opt-in recruiting newsletter, which you can find on our website as well. So if your student is interested in receiving our recruiting newsletter, that just provides information about what employers are coming to campus or participating in upcoming career fairs or posting jobs, you can sign up. Any student can sign up for that, and then you'll receive it. I think it's a weekly newsletter We've been trying to do it every week, although at the end of the semester, it kind of goes away for a bit because there's not much recruiting activity happening. So yeah, there's just lots of information. I think the best place to start is with our Career Lab website, and most of all of our events are on the front page of the website and in the emails that come into your inbox, in your students' inbox every day.
Great. And one of the questions that just came in was about international students. And do these opportunities that you're talking about, do they apply to international students? Are there specific things that international students should be thinking about in regards to internships and job opportunities?
Yeah, so all of the internship opportunities that I've mentioned are open to international students. I think the one thing that international students need to be aware of are it's for internships, the CPT, OPT guidelines. So CPT is curricular practical training, OPT is optional practical training. Many students use curricular practical training time for their summer internship opportunities because they want to preserve their optional practical training time for their post-Brown work experience if they want to stay in the US for a period of time. And we often refer students to the Office of International Student Scholar Services, OISSS, which is an important resource for international students on campus to be able to navigate work authorization, navigate the visa requirements that they might have to be in the US or to travel even outside of the US to a country that's not their home country. But we do support international students, and all of the opportunities that I mentioned through the Sprint program and almost all of the employers who post internships with us are also available for international students as well as US citizens. So if you have an international student and they have questions, please send them to our office and we'll help connect them to the right resources in our office or in OISSS that are important for them.
Great. And one of the questions we have is from a student asking, can you walk into Career Lab? Do you take walk-in appointments?
So you can walk in and there are specific walk-in hours. We have open hours appointments 6 days a week. So every day except Friday, because a lot of students don't come in on Fridays. Oh no, wait, is it every day Friday or Saturday? We might do Friday during the day, but not Saturday during the day. I'll have to look. They've changed a little bit over the course of the semester, but you will find our open hours schedules right on the front page of our website. They're sort of at the bottom left of the website. Our open hours sessions are with our peer career advisors. We have 30 great peer career advisors. These are students who are highly trained and have been with us in some cases for multiple years, advising other students about the career exploration process. And they're really, really helpful. They're the primary source of support for students who are trying to write a resume for the first time or really polish their resume to make it really professional. So if you have a resume question or cover letter question, the peer career advisors are your first best stop. If you're just trying to figure out how to even get started with career exploration, go talk to a peer career advisor. They can get you oriented to all of our services, all of the supports that we have. And then after you do that, you may want to come in and meet with a career counselor, one of our full-time staff members, to go a little bit deeper in terms of some of the self-assessment activities I talked about, and just really thinking about how you might want to plan out your career exploration over the course of 2, 3, or 4 years at Brown. Yeah, those open hours are typically during the day. We have, on some days they're in the evenings, and on the weekends, I believe they're on Sunday night right now. I think every day except Saturday are open hours. So Monday through Friday and then Sunday nights. And so we really do try to make them available at a variety of different times because we know students have classes at different times, and some students who can't come during the day might be able to come during the weekend. We don't have walk-in appointments with our career counseling staff, but we usually have their appointments available 2 to 3 weeks in advance. So if you go to Handshake, you can, find a career counselor who you might want to meet with, look at their calendar and book the appointment with them online. If you're not seeing availability to meet with a career counselor or with a peer career advisor, you can always just email careerlab@brown.edu. And we often will make time outside of our scheduled appointments to meet with you. Because we really don't want to turn any student away or make you have to wait for a long time before you can come see us.
Thanks, Matt. One of the questions we received is from someone whose student is a senior, who's going to have an internship during the summer and won't be ready to work on their career search until the fall, possibly. Are your services available to students once they've graduated?
Yes, so our services don't go away. We work with our officially, we work with alumni 0 to 3 years out of Brown. Unofficially, if you contact us at your 5th year reunion or your 10th year reunion, we often will have at least an initial conversation with you to help you think through whatever challenge you might be facing. And then if you need more long-term or sustained services, the Alumni Association has some career coaches on retainer who you can connect with that might be able to support your career search. But yeah, if you're immediately after graduation, our services don't go away. You have access to literally everything that you had access to as an undergraduate. The only thing that will change is your Brown email address changes. So we'll just change that in our system. But other than that, yeah, you can come in for career counseling. Often it might be virtual if you're not on campus anymore, but because of COVID, we have lots of virtual appointments. We have the option for all of our appointments to be either in person or virtual. Yeah, we don't go away, and we're certainly we work with a lot of recent graduates who are finishing up a job search or might have delayed starting the job search until after graduation for any reason, and that's fine. It's not uncommon, and it's something where you can plug in with us when and where you need to.
Great. And you mentioned COVID. COVID, of course, is on a lot of people's minds. That was the theme of a lot of questions we received. So I'm going to sum up a few of the themes that came forward. And if you want to address this, one is for students who weren't able to participate in an internship because of COVID, how should they address those gaps on their resumes? And then what does recruiting look like in this time when we have still some restrictions on gathering? And then finally, what's your thoughts on the job outlook for students graduating during this time?
Yeah. So keep in mind that the good news is, if this is good news, COVID affected everybody. So Brown students aren't the only ones that weren't able to have maybe traditional internships last summer or the summer prior, right? So, I don't think you need to explicitly address an internship gap. Unless I don't think you need to highlight something unless someone asks you about, like, why didn't you do an internship here, or what happened this summer, why weren't you active? And then that's where telling your story is really, really important, and talking about what you were able to do or what you did focus on for the summer, or in your academic studies if you didn't focus on anything over the summer, is really important. So if you're worried about that, come talk to us. We can help you with a strategy to tell your story effectively if you feel like there's a gap. And it may not be a gap because of COVID. Sometimes people have gaps because they have a health issue, or something didn't go as well as they had hoped. Maybe they started an internship but had to leave it because it wasn't going well, and it just wasn't the right fit for them, so they left after 2 weeks. How do you explain that? How do you talk to an employer about that? And I think they're a potential employer in the future about that. And I think there are definitely strategies that we help students through, highlighting the positive, highlighting skill development, highlighting learning, because often when employers are asking questions about gaps or perceived omissions on a resume, or something that might not have, if you got a grade that you were concerned about that is in a class that's directly related to something an employer cares about, and they ask you about that grade that wasn't as good as you hoped for, I think it's important to highlight what you learned from that. It's okay to get a C, or it's okay, not to do well in something, but talking about how you learned from it and what you took away from that experience is really, really important. And oftentimes being able to effectively tell your story, if there's some type of perceived gap on your resume, is the best way to actually show perseverance, to show grit, to show that you're someone that can come in and make a difference for an organization and persevere through difficult times. Yeah, I think everyone has some type of negative, potentially, experience because of COVID. And so it's not something that's unique to Brown students. And I think many employers also understand that, and they're not penalizing people for, those perceived gaps. How has recruiting changed? Virtually everything is online. Almost everything is online right now. We had one employer come to Career Lab this fall in person, and that was it. Usually we have dozens and dozens of employers come to campus, both through career fairs and for on-campus recruiting activities. All of our on-campus recruiting went virtual in 2020. It remained virtual, like with the exception of that one employer for 2021. All of our career fairs are remaining virtual this year. And the career fairs have actually been, I think, pretty effective as virtual events. Our platform and Handshake has provided a really good interface for students to connect with employers at a career fair setting, both in small groups as well as in one-on-one interactions with employer representatives. And we've actually opened up new opportunities with our Ivy Plus peers, with other consortia that we're part of, to do joint career fairs. So we did an Ivy Plus just-in-time career fair last April for the first time, and we were able to do that because it was virtual. And it was so successful that we're doing that again this year. We'll probably have another 50 or 60 employers do that just-in-time career fair with Brown and our Ivy peers I think it's in mid-April this year. And that's particularly geared to seniors, like people who are graduating and are looking for jobs shortly after graduation. So I think the virtual space hasn't been too limiting for recruiting, and I think it's opened up new pathways for employer connections for Brown. However, it is challenging to adjust to doing everything virtually. Virtual interviews are a little bit different and it's harder to make a connection with somebody through a virtual interview. So we've done some coaching and training at Career Lab on how to navigate that process. We've done a few workshops on that, and I think we'll continue to do those as we get into the spring semester. As far as outlook, we haven't seen a decline in opportunities or recruiting pathways for students in light of COVID. I think there are some industries that have had a harder time coming back than others. Oftentimes those have been in the sort of arts, nonprofit sector. But as far as, many of our employer partners in some of our bigger industries like finance, consulting, and tech, they have not been cutting their recruiting targets. If you look at our first destination data for the class of 2020, it looks very similar to the first destination data for the classes of 2019, 2018, 2017. We had 92% of our students secure a job or get admitted to graduate school at or within 6 months of graduation. And so we're not seeing the numbers of Brown students securing opportunities go down. And we haven't heard from our employer partners that they're really cutting their targets in any meaningful way. We did have in the height of the pandemic in summer of 2020, we had some employers, have to eliminate their internship programs because they weren't able to conduct internships virtually, but that hasn't been the case this summer, last summer or this summer, this coming summer that I've heard of yet. So I don't think we're seeing a lot of negative repercussions on the employment side in terms of opportunities for our students.
That's great news. One of the questions that just came in is about Handshake. With people who aren't familiar with Handshake, could you describe that a little bit and explain what it is?
Yeah, so Handshake is a career services management platform. That's what we call it internally. But essentially, it's our job board. So employers who want to hire our students will post both internships and full-time jobs on Handshake. Then we take all of the internship opportunities that come through Handshake, as well as internship opportunities that alumni and parents share directly with us. They often won't post those on Handshake, but they will post them in Brown Connect. So we have these two platforms. Handshake posts internships and job opportunities for students. Brown Connect posts internship opportunities only for students. And every opportunity that's an internship that's in Handshake is also in Brown Connect. So if you're an undergrad student just looking for internships, Brown Connect might be the best place to start because everything that's in Handshake is in Brown Connect. And there are additional opportunities that are only in Brown Connect because they're provided by alumni and parents, and they're only targeting Brown students for those internship opportunities. We call those Bruno internship opportunities, and they're denoted by a symbol in Brown Connect that pulls those search results to the top. So if you're a parent or an alum and you want to post an internship and definitely hire a Brown student for that internship, please let us know. You can go to Brown Connect and post it yourself, or you can get in touch with us and we can help you post that opportunity. But we really want to highlight those opportunities to our students. So in Handshake, students can find internships and jobs. It's also a place where they manage their profile with our office and with Handshake. So you can add like a virtual resume to your profile. You can fill out your interests. You can fill out your academic work and concentration. And you can choose to make that public or not make it public. So if you keep it private, that's fine. There's no penalty for doing that. If you make it public, and then employers who are using Handshake and might be looking at groups of Brown students, they might do a search for students that are, concentrating in a certain area or have a certain, grade point average, or have taken certain classes, or have had certain keywords in their virtual resume. Sometimes employers will sort through our students and then actually contact students and say, hey, you look like someone I might be interested in hiring. Would you be interested in applying for or interviewing for a job? It doesn't happen a ton, but it does happen occasionally. Handshake is also the place where you manage your on-campus recruiting activities. So if you're applying for a job with an employer who's part of our on-campus recruiting program, often those on-campus recruiting schedules are managed through Handshake. You can make appointments with our career counseling staff through Handshake. And you can find there's some information around calendaring and other activities going on at Career Lab through Handshake. So it's kind of like a virtual headquarters for some of the activities that your students will be conducting with our office. I don't know if did that make sense to you, Mikkel? Handshake is so big, yes. I don't always know exactly. Hopefully I explained it succinctly enough that it's understandable.
No, it makes perfect sense, Matt, but we did have a follow-up question about students who might need to change information in their Handshake profile.
Okay.
And what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
And it's information that they can't access themselves on their profile? Is that
it looks like a concentration change or something along those lines.
Yeah, just contact our office. You can email us at careerlab@brown.edu. One of my staff members manages Handshake for us and is responsible for importing data in Handshake. So if you have a field in Handshake that you can't change, but it's inaccurate, it may just be because we usually only get a feed a couple times a year that we import into Handshake. So if you've changed your concentration since we imported the data last, then it just won't be reflected until either we update it manually on our side, or we get a new feed from the registrar that would update your concentration automatically. So just let us know that you need to do that, and it'll get to Laura on my team, who will be able to make that change usually within 24 hours.
And is the Career Lab open right now during the winter break?
Yes, we are open. We have appointments available, either in person if you're in Providence, or virtual, obviously. We also have some information sessions, like I said, coming up about the Sprint program. And I think we have a couple virtual alumni events that were happening during the break as well. I don't recall what the timing is on the calendar for those, but the Brown Connect team was hoping to do a few virtual alumni events with students, networking events and education events with students over the break. So I would definitely look for those this week, and then we'll ramp up into high gear next week as students are coming back to campus. And then, there was a question about open hours, walk-in hours. The open hours will commence about 2 weeks into the semester. So if you need to talk to a peer career advisor before open hours start again, you can email peercareeradvisors@brown.edu. That email address is on our website, and someone will get back to you usually in less than a day. And then open hours commence after shopping period, just because many of our peer career advisors are also shopping. So we don't necessarily have their schedules set until about 2 weeks into the semester. But you can still talk to a peer career advisor, even though open hours aren't happening, by just emailing the peer career advisor email and setting up a virtual session with one of the peer career advisors. And they're very, very responsive.
Thanks, Matt. We've had a couple of questions about internships outside of the Brown local area, specifically West Coast opportunities, and then also international opportunities. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, so, international opportunities, we have international opportunities and opportunities throughout the country posted in Brown Connect and in Handshake. So you will find opportunities that are posted at Brown all over the world. But I would caution you that Handshake and Brown Connect, while they're great and have thousands of opportunities, are really only a small slice of the world of opportunities that are available to students. That's why, as I said earlier, networking is really, really important to find that hidden job market of 70% of all internships that aren't posted anywhere. The one thing to keep in mind for international internships is what the travel requirements and visa requirements are going to be for the country that you're planning to travel to. If you have a question about that, I would highly recommend coming into our office to talk with Greg Seiler. Greg is a member of our Brown Connect team, and he's an expert on international internships. And Greg often works with students who have questions about international visa requirements. So for some countries, if you want to go work over the summer, you can't enter as a tourist. You actually have to have a work visa or a work permit. And that can be really difficult to get or really easy to get depending on the country where you're planning to go. Some countries do allow you to work on a tourist visa. And so it's really, really important to know the local and country specific laws and guidelines around doing international internship work. So one of the reasons our signature internship programs, like the Germany program I mentioned, we also have an entrepreneurship in Sweden program. One of the reasons why that deadline is so early for February 9th is that you need to actually know pretty early if you're going to go do that internship, because it takes a while to get a work visa to go to Germany for the summer. And for some countries, it's almost impossible to get a work visa, like France, which is why we don't do an internship program in France. You can do internships in France, but it's really, really difficult to do paid internships in France over the summer. So it's just really important to know your country specific rules, and we can help walk you through that. And Greg in our office is an expert. You can, again, email Brown. You can email careerlab@brown.edu, or you can email the Brown Connect team, which is brownconnect@brown.edu, and they can help you get oriented to the information you need to know for working internationally.
To continue on internships, because we had a ton of questions about that. What is the percentage of students Brown students who take advantage of internships over the course of their career at Brown? And then what do you recommend in terms of time commitment from students towards their internships? We've had some questions about if it's possible to do this and still be a full-time athlete for a sport that's year-round. So what's your thoughts on time commitment to internships?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you look at the statistics, over 4 years, over the course of a student's 4 years, like 90% of students end up doing something over the summer, whether that's an internship or maybe it's, research or some other type of, actively engaged employment experience. So it's a really high percentage. I mean, almost all of our students are doing something that could be internship related or adjacent over the summer. Over 4 years at Brown. It can vary from year to year in terms of how many students are actually doing internship activities, but many of our students will do for the summer, for like a typical summer internship. Those usually last anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks. They're often, half-time or close to full-time. So there are some industries where it's 40 or 50 or more hours a week if you read the New York Times or Wall Street Journal about investment banking internships. There are also internships that are less time consuming. They might be part-time internships. They might be like the typical 9 to 5 internship, 5 days a week. So I think it really does depend on the organization and the type of opportunity you're looking for. I know it can be challenging for student athletes to find internship opportunities that fit in with their competition or their practice and training schedule. I know this is particularly true for some athletic teams. I know baseball players have had some challenges, doing summer internships while they're also trying to continue to hone their skills playing baseball over the summer and getting ready for the upcoming season at Brown. I think, we work with lots of student athletes on trying to find the right fit for them. And I think many student athletes are able to find opportunities that allow them to undertake their training or do the things that they need to do over the summer while also putting in significant hours and getting really strong hands-on experience with internship opportunities. And I think some of it comes down to negotiating with the person who you're talking to about an internship. Networking, as I said, is really, really important. And we have a lot of alumni athletes who understand how difficult it can be for student athletes to structure these things and are often willing to provide some flexibility and understand that, hey, this is a really important summer for training, but it's also a learning experience, and we want to provide a really good learning professional experience as well. So we often do connect student athletes with alumni athletes who understand those challenges and are often willing to be more flexible and accommodating in terms of scheduling for students looking for strong internship experiences. And we're also really investigating ways to build more internship opportunities for student athletes in Providence, because we know that many student athletes want to actually stay in Providence over the summer to have access to Brown's training facilities, and to be sort of in the local community. So those are some things that we're focused on in the future as well.
Now we're coming up towards the end of the hour, Matt. Is there anything you want to wrap up with? We've covered a lot of information here. We probably could go on for another hour, but I'll give you the last words, and then we will have this recording posted in 3 to 5 days for everybody to review.
Yeah, so I know, so I really appreciate everyone's questions. I'm really sorry. I actually have been like glancing down at the Q&A, and I'm sorry I can't get to all of these questions. There's so many good questions that people have. I would say if you have questions, you can always, find me and contact me or my staff directly through Career Lab. You can find our email addresses and contact information on our website. But I would say, if you're trying to support your student, or if you are a student on the call today, trying to, just think about how to get started with career exploration, sometimes just walking through our door and coming in to see us is a great first step. We're not scary. We're not going to put pressure on you to like find something that you're not comfortable with. We really want to work with you and your students as individuals who, like I said, you have your own unique skills, values, interests, needs, identities, and we want you to come out of that process with a good outcome for yourself, whether that's a summer internship, a fellowship, a research opportunity, or with whatever your first destination plan is when you graduate. And so sometimes just coming in and saying like, hey, like we have lots of students that walk in our door and say, hey, I don't know what Career Lab does, or I've never been in here. How do I get started? Just walking in the door is a great first start. I think if you're thinking of a specific way to get started, I would say connect with one of our peer career advisors first. Peer career advisors are great. They'll get you oriented and help connect you to the things that you need to be connected with to start off strong. And then definitely come in and see one of our career counselors. After you kind of understand how everything works at Career Lab, come see one of our career counselors, and then come see us often. It's not just a one point in time interaction that we want to have with you. We actually want to get to know you, get to know how we can support you better, and make sure that the more we talk to you and the more we get to know you, the better we can help you customize the outcome that's going to feel good and actually be really hopefully empowering for you as you're thinking about your time at Brown and your time after Brown. So just know that we have lots of resources, we have lots of activities, we have lots of events. And if you have questions as a family member or a parent, or if you have questions as a student, always reach out. We're happy to engage and help answer those questions.
Thank you so much, Matt. We really appreciated having you with us today. And thanks to everyone in the audience. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.